Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all how to make this cute little open and closey fairy door Vonception pendant. Sorry, I'm just weird. Well, and I say pendant, but in this video I haven't put the little things on it. These little things, they just glue right on there, or you can set them into the clay and then you can build it into a necklace. This one's a little large. It might end up being like on a journal cover or something, or you could put it on a magnet on your fridge. I mean, just whatever you want to do. So let's get started. Materials that I'm gathering here to do this project are some scrap browns. This is the terracotta colored basic Sculpey with some like burnt sienna rolled in, and this is like chocolate and some other things blended in. Then I also have the bronze effect Sculpey, and there'll be links down in the video description for all the tools and materials used here, but I really enjoy the Primo polymer clays because they're like super good. But no, really, like, it's for the most part, like, this is an old brick and it still is squishing down nicely. It has a really nice, you know, they don't tend to crumble as much on me. And they also seem to hold up really well through multiple bake cycles as well as UV exposure for in fairy houses. And for jewelry purposes, they're just amazing. So here I have some 18 karat gold colored Primo Sculpey in the accent variety. These are 2-ounce blocks, so this right here is about half an ounce. So I'm going to take a quarter of an ounce, put everything right back in the right back in its drawer. And I really love the color effects because, like, that one's a much newer block, and look at how easy it squeezes. So nice. So I'm just going to roll these into their little snakes, like kind of just folding and rolling, getting them all heated up. And then I'm actually going to put the snakes together. I'm actually going to roll this one out much longer and break it into two. That way I can put it in two separate sections. And now I'm going to take this and kind of smush and roll everything together. So fold, twist, and roll. And I'm going to repeat this quite a bit because I really like the effect that it gives us. And just fold and roll, fold and roll. And I try to fold it unevenly, that way it'll give us some interesting inlays. There we are. And so yeah, you can see it gives us some of those really nice kind of wood grain, eye of the wood kind of stuff. I'm going to see if I can't roll it out just a bit. I think I'm going to do just one more fold and roll. I think that looks pretty great. So now I'm going to whip out my pasta machine. And I'm not going to bother clamping it down to anything because I'm just going to have it sitting over here for a minute. Get all the dust off. I really need to make a box for this, maybe in another video. And I have it on the widest setting, and I'm just feeding it through once. And so that way you can really see the way that it stretches out that wood grain. I really love that patterning right there. And let's check out the back side too. Oh, look at that right there. Oh my gosh, you guys. But I think I'm going to go with this front side here. I don't know. There's so many pretty parts. Decision fatigue. What do I do? And it's, oh my gosh, it just swirls for days, you guys. Okay, I think I'm going to go with this side. That was the one that struck me initially. So I'm going to fold it this way. And I'm going to feed it in fold first. And you can see how that stretched that design. So now, and I always keep an eye out for maybe something that I might like better. And I really am in love with this right here. So I'm not going to take it any further from that. I'm just going to set this down. And the backdrop, like, what we're doing in this project is I want to have fairy doors that open, and on the inside is going to be a little mirror piece. See, it's going to be, hey everybody. So I want it to be able to fit kind of within this. So I don't want to make it too much longer than that. So I just have a little point tool here. And the base I'm going to have be at about this wide, maybe, 5 millimeters in from each side. And I want the top to be a little in from there. So like right here. And then just to help myself with straight lines. And I do want a relatively straight side for the hinge to attach on. Okay, so there's that. And now I have this little craft knife tip. Just cutting the shape out. I'm going to remove that. Sorry, I have the sniffles. So yeah, I think it's a pretty nice shaped little door. And now I'm going to cut out a second section. So I'm just going to set this right there. And I'm just tracing right around the edge of this. So there's that. Okay. And then I set that other wood off to the side. And so now we have the 2 layers of our doors, or door. So this is going to be a pretty thick door, but it gives us something that we can put the hinge mechanism onto the inside of. And that'll just sit there, kind of like that. And we're going to make a whole back and frame and everything for this. So, which I guess we can go ahead and do the back side of the mirror now. That way we don't have to worry about doing it later. So I've just rolled our extra clay together. I'm just going to set this here. And again, it's on our thickest setting. And you could do this, right now I'm making a pendant, but you could make any kind of fairy door for your home or for your friends or just whatever you like. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra, just a few millimeters extra off the sides. There we go. Excuse me. And I'm going to save this because I can roll it out into like little snakes for decorative little, vining and stuff. So there we have a nice, I should probably grab a tile for building on. Because I can't fit my whole work surface. Ah, dadnabbit. See, that's what I was afraid of. There we go. But yeah, it was getting kind of stuck, and I didn't want to have to mess up all my edges and everything. So I'm just going to come around and kind of tuck and shape this. Just like that. And then I'm going to set it on our tile to work on. Okay. So now we're going to want to make sure... Oh, sorry, there's a butterfly outside my window. So, our door is going to be inset. So I want to make sure that we can fit the door, in to have it swing open. So now we're going to build up the frame around this. And I want to start by doing a base layer of like a green blend. Let me see if I don't already have one. It looks like I do. Yeah, this is my mossy green blend. I actually just, the same way we did the wood, I just folded and rolled it. Oh jeez. Yeah, y'all get what I'm saying. Um, I rolled it out, folded it in half, and then rolled it out again. Fold and roll. Yeah, with greens with a little bit of more of that terracotta brown mixed in there. And what I'm gonna do with this is kind of flatten it out with my fingers. You can see it gives it that really nice kind of strata and patterning. And we have a, where did you go, tool of mine? There you are. I have this wire brush tool, and then I'm going to be using my needle tool. And I'm just going to take this, let me see if I can't zoom in just a hair. I have it pinned with my fingers here on the tile, and then I'm just tapping with this wire brush tool. And I don't want to do it so hard that it flattens out the tips of the wire. I mean, I'm basically just stipling it. And I'll show you what this does here in a moment. Okay, so now we have this very nice and just kind of poked up a bit. It needs a little bit more poking here on the side. So now I'm going to take our needlepoint tool, and I can come through and just kind of stab and pull. So I stab, pull, just kind of inching my way along. And what this is going to accomplish is it's going to let us tear off very irregular and flaky and natural looking, like mossy segments. Just like that. And now I'm going to use this Bake and Bond like translucent liquid bakeable clay by Sculpey. And I've been storing it upside down, hoping that it will flow a little better. And I'm just going to be touching along here on the glass, because being a non-porous material, it's really hard to get polymer clay to like stick really well to like glass or gemstones or, you know, ceramics even. Well, polished or glazed ceramics rather. So I'm just squeezing and tapping, getting just a little bit on the surface. And I do not want this to touch our little door here. Okay, put the cap back on and then put it back over here upside down. And so now I'm going to take our little mossy bits and I'm just going to touch them on. And then to stabilize them into the frame, I'm just poking in spots. And by the frame, I mean this, you know, brown woody part. And so now I'm just going to come through and keep pulling off little sections. Pulling off and placing. And then kind of just poking in. I kind of want a gemstone doorstep for like right in here, maybe. I don't know if that'll be a thing that we do though. I actually think I'm going to make our door just a little bit smaller. So the pieces still layered together. I'm just going to come through and remove like 5mm, just a bit, like that. I'm going to peel our sections apart because I do not want them sticking together just yet. And I guess we can just function with one right now. But yeah, this will let us put a little bit more of a step right underneath it. Let me see if I can get more of an above view. Nope, seems to be what we're limited to. And so yeah, I'm just going to keep pulling and tugging, getting these little mossy bits. And I don't want to cover up all of the brown on the sides. I do want to leave a little bit showing, just because, you know, stylistically I like that. But we do want to make good solid contact and have enough covering it that even if it doesn't bond perfectly to the glass, it'll still hold tight to the other clay. And so I'm just kind of, again, you want to make sure that this is pretty solid, but you want to keep the texture, because I mean, this is going to be a necklace. So you do want to make sure that it's not going to be just breaking everywhere. Now, being a necklace, we're coming into a point where we're going to have some design elements, like how are we going to keep the door latched shut is something we need to be asking ourselves right now. So I'm going to let future Vaughn worry about that, though, and right now I'm just going to have fun playing in my moss. Future Vaughn's got problems for days, but I'm doing pretty good. Just coming through, using my needle tool to just pull off. I mean, and you can do like whole segments like that. And just tap it on and just start poking it in. And I find for on jewelry, the clay moss like this, I think, is a little bit more appropriate than using the synthetic or the dried mosses. Just because, while this stuff doesn't have the texture and color and feel and everything that the dried moss does, I feel like it is way more durable than gluing on some dried up plants. Because I feel like those will crumble and deteriorate with regular wear and use. And I do want to get decent coverage on the glass, though. And that's where the liquid polymer clay, the bacon bond stuff, comes in very handy. Okay, so we're getting pretty decent coverage here now. And also you'll notice I do not have complete coverage yet, and I think that's okay, because I'll show you what we're going to be doing here in a minute. Excuse me. Excuse me, goodness. So I'm just pulling off. Okay. So now I'm going to pull out... Oh no, am I all out of gray? I guess I used it all up. Oh, you know, I've got some more over here in the backup drawer. Here we have some gray granite. This is my absolute favorite for using, for making stonework in polymer clay. Because, I mean, just the color and texture of it is already, like, perfect. It's pre-mixed perfectly. And, what's more, is it does not leave, in my experience, it doesn't leave glitter or chunks all over my hands. So I could go right from using this to using a different color and not have to worry about cross-contaminating, you know, by not cleaning my work surface or not cleaning my tools. Whereas, like, for some of my colors, like my reds and things, oh my gosh, if I don't clean every little thing, I'm going to have red in everything. Okay, so I'm just taking this and doing my fold and roll. And the heat from your hands, as well as just the pressure from conditioning it, will help soften the clay up. And I'm doing this in real time so that y'all can get a very realistic perspective of, you know, how much work this takes, and you know how much I actually do fold and roll my clay to get it to be a nice workable consistency. Okay, so I've torn off a little piece and I'm just shaping it with my fingers. And I have this tool here, which there will be a link down in the video description below, but this is actually a leather working tool. It's a backgrounder. It looks kind of like the surface of a moon that's been pitted, you know, way more than our own moon, with, like, you know, asteroids and stuff. But I'm just going to take it and tap it onto the clay, because here you can see there's the textured surface and there is the flat surface. So to each their own, you know, do what you like, but I really enjoy the texture. And then I'm just gonna do 2 of the other sides. And now we can take this, I'm gonna hold it up and see if it's a good length. It seems to be a perfect length. And I'm going to use, this is just regular old black eyeshadow. I like to use, Almay's pretty good because the pigment's nice and high. You know, so you aren't having to use a ton of it. And just an angled blending brush, actually, eyeshadow brush. And I'm just going to take this and let me see if I can't zoom in for you. Just darkening down on the sides. And right here. I don't put a lot of eyeshadow, or if you could also use chalk pastels, but I don't use a lot of it on the point where it's going to be making contact. And so now that I've done the rest of it, I'm going to come through and just very gently brush over the surface. And you can really give it a nice deep indent with your tool, and then just brush across very lightly. And I think that gives it a super nice detailing texture, as opposed to just that. Set this off to the side. And I'm actually going to take this and smush it down a bit. I don't want to smush our clay too much. But I'm just pinning it with my thumb, or not my thumb, my first finger. And now I'm just lining up the bottom, getting a little bit more of a right angle going on there. So now we have that, and I'm just going to do a little bit of antiquing here on this corner. There we are. So now there's our, like, it's not a hearthstone, but like, just, I don't know, the threshold. The little threshold stone for coming in the door. Making sure that there's no complete contact there. Because I want the door to nestle up against it. I do not want it to be actually attached, if that makes sense. Excuse me. So now, let's think about what color do I want my metal hardware to be. And I think I'm going to do it in this nice dark vintage bronze color. This is 18 gauge para wire. It's an enameled copper core wire that's super durable. It bakes well. It's affordable. It's like all of my favorite things. It's the same stuff I use in all of my wire wrapping too, by the way. So I'm just going to come through with my nylon draw pliers and straighten it out a bit. And I want probably, an arm span length. So from here all the way out to there. So probably at least a good 20 inches. And then I'm just going to snip that right there with my flush cutters. And now from here, let me dig it out, but I have a tool called this is one of the mandrels that comes with, it's called a coiling gizmo. And I'm not going to be using the rest of the gizmo here, but I'm actually just going to take this, and it's just like if I were doing regular wire wrapping. I'm just lining these two up, and then I'm going to fold it around. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 coils. And now from here, I am going to put in, you can just grab something. I'm going to use, good gravy, I'm going to use the handle to, sorry about the train, to our wire brush. I'm just going to set it right up against there, and then I'm going to wrap around once. That train's genuinely obnoxious. And then I'm going to come in between and start coiling on just this again. So let's go ahead and remove our wire brush handle. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more coils. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more. So now we've got 10, big loop 20. And I think that'll be plenty. So I'm actually going to put the handle right back up again and go around, and then around just this one, and then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I'm going to snip off this excess here, this excess wire, snip, and I'm going to snip off the tail over here on this end, snip. And you can actually use some bent nose pliers to just get that tail nice and tucked in and around on both ends. And if the wires spread more than you like, you can just hold on, and I'm not gripping this part with my pliers, I'm just holding it kind of loosely, but using the flat edge there to push on this. Okay, so now we have these two loops that are just sticking out like so. And I'm going to take them and just bend it flat. So I'm gripping it with my bent nose pliers like this, and then just turning it. And you can see, I mean, it opened it up, but we can take that and smoosh it down. And now we have these little, like, boop, boop, little ears, like, poking out, kind of, like, I don't know what to call them. And so we'll just remove that, this thing, the mandrel, set it off to the side, and let's see, I'm going to peel up our base layer door, and it's just going to sit there just like this, and we're going to take our hinge frame and place it and just kind of push that in. And you can see that one kind of keeps wanting to bounce back up, and we're just going to sandwich our hinge here in between these two layers of clay. Just like that. And so that's kind of how it's looking. There's a little bit of a hair stuck in there. We can get that out. Maybe. And now I'm actually going to come in with my wire snips. And I did not need this end that long, so I'm just trimming that down, flush with that. And I'm going to trim this end down, flush with that. So there we are. I'm going to use my pliers actually to grip that silly little hair that's poking out. Because some people might not mind, but it drives me nuts. So let me see if I can get it with a finer tip plier. Got it. Got that little hair. Stuff drives me crazy, and there's hair all over everything in my whole life. So, so now that's pretty much like in there, guys. Like once it bakes down, I don't think we'll have to worry about that a bit. And so now I'm going to come around and I'm just going to flatten it out with my finger some, kind of blend out this line. You could use a ball stylus to just kind of rub out that seam. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. It's, I guess, allergies, or I'm still not quite over being ill. It's just, I'm doing my best, guys. Okay. So we've blended out that seam. Seriously, is that little hair back? Okay, so now I get to show you guys how to remove hairs from your clay. I just take my craft knife and I come underneath and just lift it out. Just like that. I don't know if you can see that hair. I'm not crazy, it's there. Okay, I'm crazy, but that has nothing to do with whether or not that hair is there. Is that fair? Tidy up my workspace just a little bit. And now I'm going to be coming through with our wire brush, kind of brushing with it. And I'm trying to keep my streaks very parallel. I don't want to be coming through this way. Coming in from the top, because you'll see that kind of rounds and textures that top edge as well. See how that texturing happened? So now I'll come in from this end and see how it's taking it from straight to textured? Okay. And so now from here, I'm actually going to take my needle tool and I'm going to give the door a semblance of like boards. Just little lines, just straight down it. And they're not, I mean, there may be just a couple of millimeters apart from each other. The handle is actually going to be a ring that I coiled and cut from the same wire. And I'm going to leave it just kind of open like that because I think it'll give it a more secure connection with the clay. And so I'm just going to hold it with my bent nose pliers, opposite side of where the little notch is, if you can see right there. And I'm just going to take this and I'm going to smush. And it wants to go higher than what I want it to. But I'm just going to smush this little feller right down into the clay. Excuse me. And then I'm going to use a very small ball tip tool to get in behind it and close that clay right back up. That way there's not just a big gaping emptiness. And you can also come in and just kind of pet the clay again in the right direction, remove, for lack of a better term, your brush strokes, and then come through and reestablish those same brush strokes. So now our little door handle's in there. And I would like to add, I have some little charms over here. And again, if I can find the original manufacturer, I've had these charms for like, I mean, years. But I'll try my best to find something very similar, at least, and put that down in the video description. But these are just, they're just cute little enameled steel, like filigree components. Like, and I love using them for decorating my doors, because I think they make perfect little hingers. Now also, before doing this though, I am going to take, not my nice wire snips, but like my cheapo wire snips that I don't mind messing up the blade to, and I'm going to snip this back loop off on both of them. So yeah, this back one. And from here, I'm going to take, I have a little metal file, and I'm just going to file down. This would work way better than my flat one. Let me pull out my flat file. And I know you're in here somewhere. Can't find it. But you know what also works perfectly well, if you don't or can't find your flat file, is just a memory board. This works wonderfully. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to go off camera. And just shaping it down, trying to get it to look like there was never any little loop there to start with. Okay, so there we are. And now I'm going to take these, and I want it kind of positioned right like that. And I'm just going to smush this into the clay. And I like for them to be sort of a mirror image of each other. Excuse me. And I'm trying to line them up with where the hinges actually are, just because I think it makes it a little bit convincing. So there's that. Our nice little door. And so now what we're going to be doing from here is we have this wire left over from making the hinge frame, and it just slides right through. So I'm going to measure, let's see, 1 inch past each end. Set that off to the side. But what I'm going to do here now is I have my round nose pliers, with some moss on them, and I'm going to grab it as close to the tip of the wire and as close to the tip of the pliers as I can, and start just looping this around into a very loose spiral. And the reason why I'm doing a loose spiral is because I'm layering this in between 2 different layers of clay, and I want the clay to be able to take hold to each other. If I made a tight spiral, it wouldn't permeate through as much. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Excuse me. Now I'm going to try to get in here and lift this off of our work surface with as little distortion as possible. There we are. Now also, I want some nice texturing on the inside of this tree as well. I'm not going to bother with a handle on the inside because I think that's just going to interfere with the door closing all the way, but I do still want to have that texture. Excuse me. I feel like it makes it look so much more convincing and real. And why not? You know, the magic happens in the details. Go ahead and do it. So there we go. Got the board lines and everything in there now. So now I'm going to thread this through the hinge. And I'm going to coil down this end now, being very careful to not mess up my door. I could totally do this after baking. Honestly, that'd probably be a much better idea. But let's see how this goes doing it like this. Like, just, you know, never know till you try. Eep! And this makes me super nervous. I do not like risking messing up my projects, but I'd rather me try it and mess it up than you try it and mess it up and be like, Vaughn, why didn't you tell me? And it's like, I don't know, I'm sorry. Okay, so that didn't end too horribly. Now you do want them lined up on the same plane as each other. You don't want this one bent this way and that one bent upwards. Like, you want it to be nice and flat. Okay, so now we can set this like so. Just flush up right against, and you can see where these spirals overlap, and we can just smush that right into our mossy base, and then take more moss and just stipling, making some more textured, excuse me, and I'm just going to pull that right off. And then we can just layer this right on top. And see, that's why I made the spiral nice and wide, is because now I can make connections in the clay in between the wires. Because I kind of want to make it look like, man, how did she do that? Like, there's no way, you know, we don't know, how did she do it? And so our door will open and close nicely. I'm actually going to texture here on the side too, because why not? It's a big, heavy door. Test and see where there's a little bit of wiggle. And there's going to be a little bit of wiggle because the wire that's coming through the hinge there is not the same thickness as, if you wanted less wiggle, use like a heavier gauge wire to make your hinge. And so I'm filling in a little bit. I don't want to see any of the mirror through the, between the moss and the hinge. So what I'm going to be doing from here though, is I've got some more of our gray granite. I want to, you know, and that doesn't protrude as far as I would like, but I think that'll be okay. I want to make some stones. So I'm just pulling off little bits. And I'm going to go ahead and texturize them. But I don't want them to just be flat, so, or round rather. So I'm going to texture and then I'm going to squish. So texture, squish, texture, squish. And I'm going to come through and I'm going to set these stones right along the edge. I'm going to have to fill that in with a little bit more moss first though. So an alternate method to making the moss will be like a quick fill, if that makes sense. So I just took some of this, rolled it out, set it. I'm just going to use the end here to push it down. getting a nice little line going, but this is going to be covered with rocks, so I'm not so worried about it. But that's going to help give us the nice, clean, even edge that we don't want to have to worry about. Okay. So just pushing this down, keeping the texture going. We want to keep our door opening and closing comfortably. Okay, so now we can take this and set it down. I also think, just for good measure, some Bacon Bond. Just touching it along where the clay is going to be making connection. Excuse me. I hate so much having allergies and being ill on camera, but I wanted to make more videos for you guys. Okay, so now that'll help us to make contact without having to like smush the crap out of it. Okay. So there we have 3 of our little bricks. And I'm just going to make some more to finish off the edging, and then I'll meet y'all right back here. Okay, so we're back. I finished placing the stones, and I would like to do a little bit of antiquing on all this before we put it into bake. So again, I have my eyeshadow out, and I'm just going to kind of come through. And I'm not going to worry too much about doing this, because I think I'm going to do an acrylic wash on all of it whenever it's done baking. But just in case y'all decide for yourselves that you don't want to do that, just kind of come through, and you can just take it and just kind of brush along the edges. Just catching the details on all those stones. Okay. And now, how do you make this into a piece of jewelry, something wearable? Well, what I want to do is we have our extra bit of wire here. I'm actually going to take it and coil it down kind of keyring style. Like that, just around my round nose pliers. And then from here, in the opposite direction, I'm going to make it into a little spirally loop, just like that. And going to detach our project from our work surface. And what we could do is come through after the fact and epoxy this down to the back, just coming off of each side. Or we could press it into the clay. I actually think I'm going to go the route of epoxying it on, because I feel like the epoxy will not break, whereas, you know, I don't know, what could we do that, you guys? Because I really don't want to smush the front of what we're doing. I should have done this like much earlier in the project. Yeah, we're just going to go the route of epoxying it on. But you could layer Or I could do moss layered over it. Bring that texture around to the back a bit. It's just, I mean, the point I guess I should be making here is that you can do whatever you want. There's a lot of different options, but that way we can make this into a necklace and like bring, you know, beads kind of off to the sides. So I'm going to go bake this and then make another one of these, and I'll meet y'all right back here, and we'll finish this piece up. Okay, so I've gotten this out of the oven and it's still quite warm. I baked it at 275 for about 20 minutes. Let me move the tile out of the way. Hooray for fingernails, actually. Keeping the hot clay off my fingertips. Setting that tile off to the side. Now let's see if this will open up for us. Getting it pulled open. Now it looks like it's not going to want to open all the way. There's some little bit of clay in the way. It looks like it's right here is one of the problems. So I'm just going to kind of shave, while the clay is still nice and warm, shave that kind of down on both sides. Let's see, will that open up more? I really should have tested this more, ouch, that's hot, before baking it. That way I could have had the shaping down already. Okay, so that opens up pretty nicely. I'm gonna come and get in here with some rubbing alcohol. Hey Randy, do we have any more Q-tips? And I guess before cleaning that with the rubbing alcohol, I'm actually going to do the acrylic wash. And to do that, I have a piece of scrap paper. Oh, thank you. Or I thought I had some scrap paper. Here we go. And I like doing this while it's still quite warm. So I have the scrap paper, the bristle brush, sorry I had to unbury it, and I have some really old artist pigment by Folk Art, Pure Black, with a bunch of water in it. I mean, a bunch of water. Like, check out how runny that is. Super lots of water. Okay. And so now I'm just going to come through and I am just painting everything with this black pigment. And I want to get it down in all the nooks and in all the crannies. I want this to be a really nice, like, deep, dark pendant. And you can tell whenever you get the colors down and in. Sometimes you'll see really bright colors left out. Okay. And so now from here, I have this old cloth. And I have this spray bottle of water. I'm just using a little clean section. I actually want to come through and just start wiping off the excess paint. And whenever one spot gets dirty, I start using another clean spot. It's really important to use a clean spot because if you just keep using the same dirty spot, it'll stop taking the paint off. Okay, so that's as far as we got just with water. And I do want to go ahead and paint the back up, just so that it all looks intentional, I think. And now from here, I'm actually going to use some of this rubbing alcohol on another clean spot. And now you'll really be able to see the difference here. This is just water, and this is with the rubbing alcohol. So I mean, just that extreme difference I think is totally worth it. Coming through, cleaning up all the rocks. Especially with the moss. That's my main thing, is I really want to bring out more of the details, more of the brighter greens that I know are in there. So I mean, alcohol side, water side. Slight difference, but it's there. And just keep on rubbing. Now also, I'm going to get a little cap full of rubbing alcohol. There we go. And I have a Q-tip. I'm going to come in and I'm going to clean up just the top of the hinge. I'm wondering if I don't have like an old clean stiff bristle brush that I could use to get in here and clean up. There it is. Sorry, I got lost. I was looking. Oh, here's one. So now I just have a long stiff bristle brush, and I'm just going to get in here and kind of scrub a little bit with the rubbing alcohol and then clean it off. And I really like that effect. Yeah, that's doing quite a bit to brighten up our greenery. Going ahead and lifting out the excess liquid. Sorry for all the traffic noises. I'm going to see what that doesn't do for us on the door too. See if we can't just scrub it a bit with that rubbing alcohol. Ooh, I like that, y'all. Very pleased. Hush, puppies. Oops, spilled it. That's alright. Just really getting in there, scrubbing out the details. Now also from here we can go ahead and grab that handle to open our door. I'm going to see if we can't get a little bit of detail going in back here. Of course I'm using my wrong brush to be adding in the details and stuff. And I want to go ahead and just let it settle in. I want it real dark around the edges of this mirror. Like super duper extra dark around the edges on the inside. Again, cleaning up the mess that I'm good at making. So we'll prop that open. I'm going to go ahead and get in there. I'm going to zoom back out for you guys. I don't think you need it quite so up close anymore. And so from here, I'm actually going to clean up the mirror just a bit. And I'm not really pushing too hard to get into the edges of the mirror, because I want it to keep them nice and dark there along the edges. That way you can't really see the mirror from the outside. And so I'm just going to get my big clumsy finger just in there and just do that. Very nice and antiqued there on the inside. And then that's our door, and we can just prop it here to let it dry. And I think when a person's wearing it, it'll have a tendency to keep itself shut. Another thing that we could do is we could embed a magnet in here and make sure that we have a magnet in the back as well, and that will keep the door shut. I might do that in future tutorials. So from here we could drill holes through the sides, we could epoxy on the little back part. You could use E6000, or I prefer the DevCon 2-part epoxy. We could also just do a polymer clay back, like put down a layer of the bacon bond, put our wires in there, and then put another back on it. Just whatever you prefer. Hey y'all, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope that this tutorial was helpful to you. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, I would love to hear from you. If you have any requests for future tutorials, I'd also like to hear from you. Now, we do new tutorials every day on YouTube, so if you would like to see more of those, please like, share, and subscribe. There's a little bell that you can click on somewhere on the screen that'll like notify you of whenever I'm doing live streams and when we have new videos. But also, the big thing I want to talk to you guys about, and let me grab this so I can show you, is our monthly fairy house giveaways. And this is one that we are working on, well, that we finished actually. Its door does not open and close, but it is super cute also. But yeah, you just put a little candle holder inside of it and you put incense up in the top. If you would like a chance to win this fairy house, or if it's in the future, which it will be because this is the video from the past. Anyways, if you would like a chance to win some of our cool fairy house paraphernalia and stuff like that, please check me out on Patreon. There'll be links down in the video description below, as well as popping up on the screen somewhere over here, where you can go and pledge as little as $1 to put your name in the hat to win one of the fairy houses. I also do Dragon Eye giveaways, we do art giveaways, and all sorts of stuff. Everything that we're doing over there on Patreon, y'all are invited to come and participate. And then if you pledge, like, if you pledge $1, it puts your name in the hat one time. If you pledge $5, it puts your name in the hat 5 times. Sorry, my hands are all, it's the paint. And if you pledge $10 or more, then it puts your name in the hat for our giveaways, and you get a monthly craft crate mailed to you. That link that had popped up a minute ago takes you to a video that explains our Patreon in much greater detail. Yeah, I'm gonna get back to crafting. I've got crazy crafting hair today, guys. But I'll see y'all around. Oh yeah, I'm on like Instagram and Facebook and stuff if you guys want to come and hang out with me there. So, mwah. Happy crafting, everybody. I'll see you around. Bye.